This is Ryan Elliott with Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're at the McGuigan Gym today with me, cruiserweight prospect Chris Billum-Smith. How are you doing, Chris?
Very well, thanks mate. Yourself?
I can't complain. Thanks for having me down. Let's get straight into it. One place to start really. After what we saw at the weekend, Anthony Joshua dethroned by Andy Ruiz, knocked down 4 times en route to a 7th round TKO upset. Did you catch the fight?
Yeah, I caught it the next morning. Can't be having any late nights while I'm in camp, it ruins me. Yeah, caught the fight, thought it was obviously a shock. Some people are claiming that it was always going to happen, but they were very quiet beforehand. A lot of people as well are happy about it in British boxing, you know, British fans should I say. But I can't see how they can be, you know, it's not good for British boxing when such a big name and, you know, the face of boxing over here by a long shot gets beat. It's not good for British boxing. But the fight itself, it was entertaining, that's for sure. But he didn't look himself. Something wasn't right. I only saw it back the next morning, like I said, so I missed the ring walk. But Shane said to me that there was like a delay in him coming out or something. So who knows what went on there? Maybe just unsettled. Never, you know, this game, especially at that top level and that weight, is unpredictable. Everyone can punch. You've got to be on your game all the time. If you're not right mentally, physically, he looks always in great physical condition, which I'm sure he was. But this game's more mental than it is physical, believe it or not. So yeah, I think there was something wrong mentally, which needs addressing, obviously, especially if it's going to go into a rematch, because there's going to be doubts there now with that style, Ruiz's style. Yeah, but Ruiz, fair play to him. That style he's got, his fast hands, punches, combinations, didn't look scared even after getting hurt. That's wrong for the big lumps at heavyweight nowadays anyway, I think, because most of them are looking for the one shot and no one throws combinations like he did. He got inside, and once he got inside, he got shots off, hitting around top of the head, hitting anything, wasn't looking for that one perfect punch. So yeah, fair play to him.
I think it's fair that, you know, we'll come on to the other Joshua stuff, maybe what went wrong in the rematch, etc. I think it's only fair to start though with Ruiz. You mentioned there you're quite impressed with him. I don't think any of us, I certainly didn't give him any chance. I think we all knew, in spite of maybe the aesthetics, what he looks like. I think we all knew he was a good fighter. I don't think anyone expected him to do that. His performance, he got put down for the first time. He didn't look too hurt, but how impressed were you that he got up, he didn't try and back off or maybe hold on, he went straight into the storm and then nearly took Joshua out then and there as well?
Yeah, I mean, he's Mexican, isn't he? He's got that Mexican in him there. They're tough people over there, they breed them tough, and he got knocked down. He didn't seem shocked or scared, or, you know, he looked prepared, and sometimes people aren't mentally prepared to be put down. It's just boxing, everyone gets put over at some point pretty much. There's very few that don't get put down, and so a lot of people get shocked, and I think that's kind of what happened to Joshua. You know, I don't think he was in the right frame to begin with, because he didn't look great from the start, like his typical self from the start. But when he got put over, he's like, this isn't meant to happen, how's this happening, sort of thing. So you've got to be prepared for everything to overcome it, because if you're not prepared for it, then it becomes a shock. And in boxing, you don't have time, you have a minute break between rounds, but that might not be close. I mean, obviously he was saved at the end of round 3, I think. If that had been a minute to go in the round, then I probably would have been over then, because he was looked out of sorts. But yeah, it was just a massive shock, really, wasn't it?
I think the only person that wasn't shocked was Andy Ruiz himself, and maybe a few members of his camp that had picked him, and maybe a few Mexicans that had supported him as well. We were all surprised. With Andy Ruiz, all week during fight week, we'd noticed he was very friendly. He was playing Mr. Nice Guy. He was, you know, asking if he could hold a belt. He was telling Adam Smith backstage that he wanted to high five Anthony Joshua. He's been very pally-pally. And then all of a sudden, on the night, he shows just how bad his intentions were. Does it bit you think he might have been playing possum all week to try and get in Joshua's mind?
Possibly. Maybe he thought that was the opportunity to, you know, play on that. Oh, you're a late replacement. You're out of shape. You're not at this level, sort of thing. So maybe he played on that a bit. Whereas someone like Jarrell Miller might have got Joshua fired up. If it had been the other way around, Ruiz had failed drug test, Darrell Miller come in and been talking like he was and stuff like that, might have got AJ, fired up and been like, right, okay, let's go. But because he was a playing nice guy, and maybe he was playing possum, but if he was, it worked. And yeah, I mean, he seems like a nice down to earth bloke. Seen a few things then, like about his mum, like don't worry, I ain't got to worry anymore, and I haven't got to struggle anymore, and got a lot of time for that. So yeah, I mean, fair play to him. And these shocks, it brings everyone in boxing down to earth, and in a sense of, it can happen to anyone, because everyone thought, bar Wilder and Fury, that Joshua couldn't be beaten. So yeah, it's brought a lot of people down to earth, and I'm glad it's Ruiz and not Miller in that situation, because I didn't like some of the things Miller said in the build-up. Ruiz was, seems like a bit of a gent, and it's good to have that at the top of the sport rather than someone who's, not the greatest role model. So, fair play to him, and I hope he gets his Snickers deal sorted.
Let's not sit here and make excuses for Anthony Joshua. I think it would be unfair on Andy Ruiz to do so after what he's achieved. He's reached the pinnacle of the sport as a big underdog. He's came in there and sort of shocked all of us. Looking at Anthony Joshua though, all week and for months and months there's been talk, will he fight Deontay Wilder? Who's taking what money? Is he going to fight Tyson Fury? All these sort of things. And even during fight week, that was the discussion. The discussion wasn't Andy Ruiz. The discussion was, once Anthony Joshua's got rid of Andy Ruiz, are we going to see Deontay Wilder? Are we going to see Tyson Fury? Is there a bit of you that thinks that could have played a part? Do you think maybe there was a bit of complacency because of all this talk?
Complacency is the word. That's that could have been why he wasn't feeling right or didn't look right or whatever. But I thought it was a walk in the park. But you can't ever think that. I thought it very early on in my amateur career about someone I was fighting and got beat, and then that's always stayed with me, and I learnt my lesson there. But complacency is the perfect word for it, and maybe that's why. Maybe because all the talk was beyond that. But this is the sport. You can't think like that. You can't think, beyond your next fight in a certain sense. You can't think the fight's a given. And then obviously you've got to have goals, you've got to have long-term goals, because if you think just fight by fight, this is my final, there's too much pressure, and most of the time, or the pressure's the wrong word, but too much emphasis on a certain fight. But you just got to take every fight as it comes to a certain extent, have your goals, but focus on your debut, on your second fight as much as a world title fight, British title fight, whatever it is. The mindset going into the fight and the preparations have all got to be the same.
You said something interesting a bit earlier in this interview about mentality can be more important than physical attributes, etc. It plays such a big part. With that said, after suffering not just what was maybe one shot that ended the fight, he suffered a sustained beating in there. Andy Ruiz really put it on him for a good few rounds. How does Joshua deal with that mentally if the rematch does happen? We believe it will in the UK later this year. How hard is it to sort of flick that switch and recover from what was a very one-sided fight in the end?
Yeah, well, like I said, don't mean to take anything away from Ruiz, but it didn't look from the start, like the best Joshua, so he needs to address himself and then look at what Ruiz does well, because he does a lot of things well and people don't give him any credit because of his body shape. Punches quick, he punches in combinations, and like I said, that's the wrong style for Anthony Joshua, so who knows, even if, and now he's going to have that belief where I can hurt him, so he might throw a bit earlier. It won't take for him to get dropped for him to start letting his hands go. He didn't really let his hands go much before that third round, neither of them did. But yeah, he's got a great style. Obviously Parker beat him on a close decision, so that's his only loss. But styles make fights, and Joshua's obviously got a rebuild mentally. He said it as well in I think it was the post-fight press conference about a warm-up fight. There's no need for a warm-up fight, I don't think. But he may need time out. He's gone from starting boxing to 10 years being the face of the sport in the UK at least. unified heavyweight champion with unbelievable amounts of sponsors, unbelievable amounts of media obligations. You can't live life in the sense of there's no downtime. He's always surrounded by people and all that, and you need time on your own in life, I believe, and that might play a part. So he might not want the rematch, he might not feel mentally right for the rematch, but he can get there, and there's loads of different mind coaches as such, psychologists, NLP therapists, that can help get that. And I think he did say he was working with a psychologist, and a lot of people, I think, are almost scared they think they're mentally weak by having one when they make your mind stronger. So I've had an NLP in the past, so it's like a mental skills coach and stuff, and a lot of the learnings are taken from that. And but he needs to sort out his own issues and then prepare for Ruiz. He's going to go in as the challenger, and have that belief in himself. Obviously there was talks of him getting dropped in sparring and stuff as well. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but all those little things will play. But you need to have a strong mind. What happens in sparring is sparring, and those are things. Loads of rumours happen. Some people take it as almost as bad as a loss. If they get dropped in sparring and stuff like that, and they want to pull out the fight. It's different if you're concussed. Then when it's medical, then pull out the fight. But other than that, you've just got to be mentally strong, and you've got to. For me, that's what it seems like for me, is he needs to sort the mindset side of things out, because and whatever that is, maybe it's belief in his training, or belief in his it might be his team, it could be anything, it could be his nutrition, but there's got to be, there's doubts there. Obviously it seemed like the other night, because when he was hurt he seemed a bit lost. It's I believe he'll come back and win the rematch, but there's definitely a lot of things that need to take place first.
Final question on this one. You're speaking there about his mentality, about the fact he's been working with a psychologist, etc. It was odd to many watching, not only in the arena but at home as well, that when the fight was over, Joshua looked somewhat relieved in a way. It was bizarre to see, but he didn't look dejected, etc. I'm sure he will have been when he left the ring, and he'd allowed it all to sink in. He almost, like I say, looked relieved, and it was almost like it was a weight off his shoulders. There's so much pressure on this young man. You mentioned he's the face of the sport. He's got all these endorsements. Everyone expects so much of him. Do you think that might just take a little bit of pressure off him now that he's had that first loss, and he can come back and rebuild?
Yeah, the pressure will be on. The pressure will be on in the rematch. It's because if he loses that, then he's got to really rebuild, which he could do. Even if he was to lose a rematch, he's got like the likes of Dillian White and other up and coming fighters that one win will shoot him straight back up there, because he's only ever going to be one win away from a world title or a world title shot. So, but yeah, it's a lot of people said that he looked relieved and that pressure was there, and he spoke very well. But I think he speaks well because he knows he's a role model for so many kids, and he dealt with it in the way a champion should. Like, he didn't blame anything, he blamed himself, and that's the only way you can get better in life. You've got to take responsibility for it all. If you believe your team's not right, then it's up to you to change it. So even if that person has caused you not to be as good as you can, then it's up to you to change it. It's not up to them to be a better coach or a strength and conditioning coach or whatever. It's up to you to change it. So it did look a little bit like he was relieved, and he might be, but who knows? We've seen fame and success get the better of a lot of people, and Tyson Fury's one as well. Obviously he beat Klitschko, then went off on one, and the same thing might be the same case, different extent maybe, but with AJ. And it just goes to show that it doesn't matter how much someone seems to have that something might not be right, behind the scenes. So yeah, it's definitely looked to me as though there was a bit of relief there to a certain extent. But the pressure will be on if the rematch gets made. It will definitely be pressure will be straight back on, and that's why he's got to get mentally right first.
You've got yourself a fight, July 20th against Richard Riakporhe. How's preparation been? How excited are you to finally have that opportunity as well, to show yourself on a big stage?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I forget to get excited sometimes because there's so much going on in the gym, which is, obviously a lot bigger than this fight. I'm excited. It's definitely been difficult for the last, 4 fights, maybe getting up from. That's no disrespect to my opponents, but I just felt they were comfortable fights. But you'll definitely see the best of me in this fight, and I can't wait to get in there. Pad's been great, sparring's been great, sparring a couple of heavyweights. Obviously got Lawrence in the gym as well now, so we've started sparring, and yeah, I'm looking forward to July 20th. We've got 6.5 weeks now, is it? Yeah, 6.5 weeks. So yeah, I can't wait for the fight, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be great for me, and to get that first belt, and then push on from there, and look beyond that. But for now, all eyes are on that.
I'm sure yourself and Shane by now, if not already before, have seen lots of footage of Richard Riakporhe. What is it that he brings to the table that you haven't had to deal with before, and that you have to be seriously wary of on fight night?
Height is different. I haven't boxed anyone as a pro taller than me, I don't think. So the height's, but most of my sparring, a lot of my sparring has been against taller opponents. So, but yeah, and obviously now we've got Lawrence, who's a very similar stature. But yeah, that would be something. Obviously the power, no one's probably punched as hard as him. He does a lot of things well. He twitches and stuff, but I think once I start landing, and he's got a bit of grit about him. Like, people probably think he's gonna really fall apart, but I'm expecting him to hang around and keep throwing, and he's always going to be dangerous because he's gonna want to keep his belt, so he's always going to want to throw, and if he is in trouble, and so when he's in trouble, he'll look to punch his way out of it, and but yeah, I believe that the game plan we've got will be more than sufficient to beat him, and I look forward to carrying it out.
You've been someone who you've done your learning. You've been very much ready for a domestic fight for a good few months now. I'm not going to name any names, but I know there's cruiserweights out there that you've tried to get in the ring with, that others have tried to get in the ring with you as well. This fight has been made. You've mentioned you've maybe struggled to get up for your last few fights just because you've been so ready to move on and get that big opportunity. It's arrived. I'm just wondering, how has your mentality changed in camp? How does your preparation change?
Yeah, well, because I've been in camp, like, I barely have any time off in between camps, so I've never realised that there was something missing in those other camps. But now I've realised it because it's back. So I didn't realise it had gone to a certain extent. So that fire in my belly is there. It's exciting because I know who I'm fighting with plenty of notice. We've probably had 11, 12 weeks notice. Obviously had a fight in between, and yeah, it's more hype around it. There's a bigger show. It's going to be more coverage, and that just really gets that fire in your belly because you just want to perform on that stage, and that's one thing I've always managed to do when it comes to ABA finals and stuff. Results haven't gone my way, but the performances at that time were decent enough. I didn't ever feel scared or frightened or nervous to an extent where it affected my performance, but I'm really looking forward to it. And like I said, that fire's in my belly. It's stupid little things to focus. You just zone in a little bit more. I think it's because you've got that opponent. His style. I've been watching him, so I'm visualising what he's doing, visualising how to get around it, and and getting the work done.
I was talking to Barry McGuigan in Glasgow about your development, not only as a boxer but as a person since you joined this gym. You've trained alongside many champions. You've trained alongside high-profile names. If you look at Luke Campbell and Josh, George Groves has been a big influence on you as well, someone you've trained alongside and trained with. Has being around these big names and these champions sort of maybe given you that bit of experience going into this big fight of how to deal with things and how to carry yourself, and giving you that bit more belief in yourself as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's that I don't have the nerves of what's that going to be like, or what's it like to be in that position, or I've got so much experience without having to deal with anything. Does that make sense? So, like I said, I've been in World Championship defence in the change room before that. I've been in camps for those fights. I've been in world title challengers camps and seen how it's been dealt with, and seen how my coach has worked with people during those fights, and it's all experience, and the media obligations and all those things, like it's all experience, and everything I've seen and I've taken on board. I try and go to the press conferences that the boys are in, the spars, I sit and watch and just gain as much experience as I can, and that's all going to be useful for the rest of my career. This fight, for me, it's the first of title, but it'll be the first of many. So all that experience is going to not only be useful in this fight, but the rest of my career as well. So it's important to learn off everyone around me. If I can't learn in this environment, then you can't learn, because I'm surrounded by some of the greatest fighters in the world. Forget just in their weight divisions, pound for pound, some of the greatest fighters in the world I've seen. Different styles. Barry obviously is a Hall of Famer. Shane's been Trainer of the Year. Works with so many different styles. I've sparred world champions. I've sparred former world champions. I've sparred people heavier than me, people lighter than me, prospects. So the experience I've got it's really is second to none for someone coming through the ranks and being a prospect myself. So everything I've learned is it's there, it's just settled in. I haven't got to think about it. The experience is just there, and it's calm, relaxed, and going about camp as usual. To me, it's not a massive fight and oh my god, it's a big opportunity. It is a big opportunity, but it's not like, oh my god, I've got to perform. It's a big opportunity. It's a big opportunity which you're going to take and perform and then move on, because that's the mindset you've got to have going in.
That's very grounded what you've just said there. I was just about to ask you, I know fighters don't like to look beyond when they've got a fight ahead, especially a fight that is perceived by many as a 50-50. That said, I think it's a fair comment to say your best nights are ahead of you, including July 20th. What is the ultimate goal for you at this point? Have you thought about things like that, or are you just in the sport to take things one fight at a time and see where you can go?
I've got goals. I want to win as many belts as I can, but this sport's so unpredictable. A year ago, you would never have thought, or 2 years ago, you would never have thought any British cruiserweight would be fighting for a world title anytime soon, because Usyk's just unbeatable and this. But then he's moving up to heavyweight. Lawrence just missed out on a shot for the WBA. So you would never have gone when Usyk was about to fight for WBA or defend it, that Lawrence is going to be fighting for WBA then. So it's so unpredictable in this sport. I just want to just keep getting better, and that's everything else will come. It's not necessarily about achieving a certain belt, or because you could get a British title win. There's plenty of British champions out there that no one knows of because they weren't that great. They got a bit lucky, or they were right on the night and then nothing's happened. For me, it's about the consistency of improving, keep getting better, keep getting bigger fights, more profile, and just keep building. And so far, so good. I've been on Channel 5 a couple of times, which has helped, and then it'll be on Sky, and then I'll probably have more fights on Sky after the next one, and yeah, just keep building from there. But for me, there's a few things on the checklist. There's a few belts. Obviously, everyone wants the British and Commonwealth are always good belts, on the checklist. Fight down in Bournemouth, I want to bring a televised show down there within the next couple of years, and then eventually the dream is obviously to fight at Dean Court at the stadium, and that would be a huge thing for the town. I don't think we've ever had a televised TV show. So if I can do that and make some history in the town, that'd be great. You know, it's nice little achievement for myself. But yeah, there's a few things on the checklist that I want to do. But it's not like, obviously I want to be a world champion and do all those things, but you just never know in this sport. So many things can happen, so you've kind of just got to focus on what is now, focus on every day as it comes, and just keep improving.
You mentioned there the British title, the Commonwealth title, both very realistic goals for yourself. A guy who's won them both in your division recently joined the gym,
Yeah.
Lawrence Okoli. How nice is it to have him about?
No, it's good. I didn't really know Lawrence as a person, to be honest, before he joined, but he comes across as a really nice person, and he's a good lad. He's great to have around. For me, on a professional level, sparring wise, it's good to deal with a completely different style. You know, there's no one really with that style in any way. Is very awkward. But he can punch. You know, most people who are awkward and fiddly and stuff, but you know, he's awkward. He's dangerous at the same time. So it's going to benefit me massively in having him in the gym. He's going to make me a better fighter in the long run. Yeah, it's good to have him in the gym, and he's a good laugh. Some of the things he wears, he came in today with a dressing gown on. Not sure what that's about, but you know, each to their own, as they say.
He's a man, as well as yourself, who has himself a domestic fight also, July 6th I believe in Manchester. He's facing someone you know very well, Jack Massey. I know that's a fight you wanted for yourself.
Yeah.
Lawrence gets that opportunity. How do you think that fight goes?
I think Lawrence will stop him mid-rounds, to be honest. I think Jack's style is very come forward, tucked up, and I think that suits Lawrence. But it's kind of what you've got to do against him. You know, Matt Askin managed to nullify him and not get stopped by him, but it's never enough, and that's what a lot of people look at Lawrence. And me and Lawrence had this conversation, and to be fair, people go, he looks so bad, and he does this, he does that, but I've always said it, and he's so awkward. Like he's so fiddly, and he's very good at not getting hit clean. But people think once you take his right hand away from him, that's it, you've won the fight. But Askin took his right hand away from him and lost the fight. Yes, it was a terrible fight, but that's not the point. Like, Lawrence is doing what he does to win fights, and it works, and it's up to everyone who's fighting him to not let him do that and get their work off and actually cause him real problems, because he hasn't been caused any major problems, other than the only problem he's been caused is not looking good, you know, in his wins. But you can't just blame him for that. I think you've got to keep. You got to take responsibility. I like Jack. We had a chat after our final 6 years ago now, over 6 years ago. Seemed like a nice lad, but I just believe that Lawrence will punch too hard for him, hit him too often, too clean, and I don't believe Jack will be able to get his work off.
Lawrence, it looked like for a while, in sort of back in March time, I believe, as you mentioned, would be fighting for the WBA world title against Denis Lebedev. It was a fight that many in the industry believe was going to happen, and I think a fight that, although yes, Lawrence is still a very raw fighter for someone who's won so many titles, it was a winnable fight for him. It didn't happen. Do you think that's almost came as a blessing in a way, as in he and Shane can work together a bit more before they make that step up, maybe gel together, work on a few things, because once you get up there, there's no coming back down? Yeah,
exactly. That's definitely, and I think it will be a blessing in disguise, that situation, because Shane's changing him a lot and changed him a lot already, and it's definitely that time to gel. You don't want to be trying new things or trying to settle into a fight with a new style when you're not used to. Obviously it would be during camp, but still, when it's a fight, it's different when you're fighting for a world title, so there'll be too much to think about. So I think it'll definitely be a blessing in disguise for him, and he's already looking a lot better, and he wants to learn, and that's, you know, something which is to be admired, because he has achieved a lot in a short amount of time, and a lot of people think oh, that's it now. Like, but he's always looking to learn, and he'll keep progressing, and then hopefully he gets that world title shot eventually towards the end of the year.
Final thing from me, another one of your stalemates, Luke Campbell. It looked for a while like he was going to be fighting Devin Haney for the WBC title. Instead, it's Vasyl Lomachenko. We're still waiting on a date and venue. How much of a chance do you give Luke in that fight? It's a tough fight for him.
It's a tough fight for anyone. It's Lomachenko, but if anyone can beat him, I believe it's Luke. His style, his height, he's so clever as well. Like, and under Shane, he's so much more confident and stronger and got more to his game. He was all long before, but now he can fight a little bit on the inside and set up his attacks better and better at keeping himself long and not being too erratic at long range when someone comes charging in. But if anyone can beat Lomachenko, I believe it's Luke, because he's the consummate professional. He's never balloons up in weight. He shadow boxes and he's always thinking about the fight, you know. And me and Luke have become good friends, and we've chatted a lot about it. And he's so confident, and I love it, and I can't wait for him to get that fight, because get in camp for that fight, because I'll give him every chance, and I believe he'll do the business.
Luke's someone who, similarly to Anthony Joshua perhaps, but maybe not to such a big extent, came through as the golden boy. Big things were expected of him. There was a lot of pressure going into the paid ranks. He's took his knocks, he's came back, he's improved. He's got another stab at it against arguably the best fighter on the planet, but now there's no sense of pressure on him. He's not the golden boy going into this fight. He's not the heavy favourite. A lot of people are actually not giving him that great of a chance. I know yourselves really, you and the team really believe he can go and win this fight, and there's no reason why not. But how do you think that's a good thing for him in camp, knowing the pressure's just not there? It's a free hit in a lot of people's eyes, and he can go out there comfortable and just try and make a go of it.
Yeah, to a certain extent, but there will be pressure, because for Luke, obviously his goal, like we were just talking about my goals, is to win a world title, and he doesn't care who's in the other corner. He looks at that fight and goes, this is my chance to, you know, my chance at this world title. If it had been Devin Haney, it would have been the same thing, but yes, it's maybe a more difficult fight, but the mindset for him, he'll put pressure on himself, which you need, because pressure is a privilege. It means you're doing something right. If you don't have pressure on you, it can take that little 3 to 5% off at that top level. And if you can deal with the pressure, then you're laughing. You can really make and use it to your benefit, and I believe he will do that. He's excited about this fight. He knows what's ahead of him, and Shane's, you know, got to think of a unbelievable game plan, and he has got to be, you know, Luke has got to be perfect on the night. It's Lomachenko, but it's not perfect in the sense of one mistake and you slipped up. It's consistency in the stuff. It's not like he's a one-punch knockout artist. Yes, he knocked out Crawler with that right hook, but I believe Luke Campbell and Anthony Crawler are completely different fighters, completely different styles. And yeah, he'll go into that fight believing in himself, and going in there to win that fight. And I think he will perform, put on a punch perfect performance. And there will be times when you're fighting someone that good, there's rough patches, but it's about riding those out and getting through them, winning the next round, you know, and just keep looking forward. Whereas sometimes, like I said, with bigger punches, it's you can't make a mistake. You nick rounds here and there, and you tire him out, and you take that away from him. But with Lomachenko, it's so busy. He's got to be super fit, and he's got to be perfect and take his opportunities when they come.
Final point on Luke. When the WBC ordered this fight, there was a lot of outrage. Eddie Hearn publicly criticised the WBC. I know a lot of people around Luke probably weren't happy with the decision when it looked like he was going to fight Devin Haney in what is still a tough fight, but probably a much more winnable fight for Luke, I think it's fair to say. The only person that wasn't kicking up a fuss and that straight away was like, yeah, I'll do that, is Luke Campbell. What does that say about him as a person?
Yeah, like he's such a driven individual, and not just in boxing, in life in general. He's got, you know, he's told me about some of his little business ventures he used to have. He used to have punch machines scattered around Hull, I think, and stuff like that. But he's always got that drive, and that goes to show the measure of the man. Like he wants to be the best at whatever he does. He hates it when I beat him at chess, and but he is, like I said, he's a consummate professional, and he wants to be the best in whatever it is. And now he's got an unbelievable opportunity to change his life and go down in history. And I think that's just going to drive him even more and spur him on, rather than put pressure on him, like in the sense of, oh no, he's too good for me to not have that belief. He'll have that belief, and he'll go into that fight believing this is it, this is the chance, and this is the moment where everything I've worked for comes true.
Chris, I've kept you for just under an hour now. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I know you're in camp, and I know you've got a session coming up in a few minutes' time.
Yeah.
Final word to you. Anything you'd like to add to the Boxing Social viewers?
Where's Rob? I'm only joking, mate. I'm quite happy with you here. You're used to being here. It feels like you're home again, mate. No. But tune in July 20th. I need to find out from Eddie if we're on Facebook or Sky. That's what I want to know, because the people want to know Eddie, alright? And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I know Eddie Hearn, in fact, is a big avid watcher of Boxing Social, so I'm sure you'll get your answer, Chris.
I'm sure I'll watch it. Just tag him in and spam him with it. But it's not really my answer, it's the answer for the rest of them. But for everyone who keeps asking me who can't make the fight. But tickets are going well, and I'm looking forward to July 20th.
Right, Chris William-Smith, thank you very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, Ryan.